I'm so excited for you to hear from my new friend, Janelle Martin, which I actually learned during the conversation. She just got her PhD, so it's Dr. Janelle Martin. She shares about addiction and how her family and her daughter survived addiction, are on the road in recovery, and they wrote a book about it from both their perspectives, just sharing some advice. I'm so excited for you to hear from my new friend, Dr. Janelle. Welcome to the Family Table. I'm Matthew Eford. Join me as I speak with parents, caregivers, and family experts about the joys and challenges of family life. We'll share the stories, advice, and insights that will help you build a loving and resilient family. Pull up a chair and join us at the Family Table. Welcome, everybody, to the Pillars of Purpose podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Eford, and I'm so excited to pull up a seat at the family table today with my new friend, Janelle Martin. And Janelle and I got connected through some mutual friends, and I'm so excited to have this conversation. That's going to be hard for some, but super encouraging for our families. And so, Janelle, for those who may not know you, if you're come on, just introduce yourself, and where do we find you in the world today?
Hi, I'm Janelle Martin. My business is in Houston, Texas. I'm a resident of Magnolia, Texas, which is just northwest of Houston. Online, I'm on Facebook and I'm on Instagram, both for my business and my book. I've written and published a book about walking through drug addiction with my teenage daughter and coming out through treatment and recovery on the other side into what I feel is my life's purpose out of that situation. But Janelle Martin Author is my Facebook page, and The Mind Connection is my business page on Facebook. On Instagram, you'll find my author page at Our Beautiful Recovery, and both websites are ourbeautifulrecovery.com. That's my author website, and my business website is tmcbrainhealthcenter.com.
Okay. I'll make sure we put all those in the show notes.
That's a lot.
That's okay. I will definitely want to make sure people can connect with you and follow along. So this story of recovery, right? There's so many people in our audience that have themselves struggled with addiction, or someone very close to them, specifically, typically a family member, has struggled with addiction. So let's dive into that story, if you don't mind. At what point did you know that your daughter was having a problem?
I didn't. I had to be told, and thank God somebody actually did that, because I don't think it would have occurred to me that this was what the problem was,
Well,
at least not for a long time. And unfortunately for my daughter, she went downhill so quickly and got sucked into the drug culture so quickly that had I not been clued in when I really am fearful that she would not be alive today. So it
well,
got to crisis point very quickly, which is both, I guess, fortunate and really terrifying at the same time. So she had a friend that I wouldn't even call her a friend, really, just somebody that was in school with her, same grade, knew her from when she was very young. They were very much acquainted with each other growing up, but had never really hung out or been super good friends. But I also was friends with this girl's mother,
okay.
and for a long time. So there was a connection there, and she sent me a message on Facebook Messenger on July 4th of 2017. And not only did she express concern for my daughter and saying that her drug use was quickly ramping up from what I think she originally thought was just experimentation, but it was to a level of concern by then that she wanted me to know about it. But not only did she describe it to me in a message, but she sent me a photo of my daughter using drugs that my
Wow.
daughter had posted on her own social media that I did not see. Um, and so I couldn't deny it at that point. I had this
Sure.
physical, like visual proof. So there was no arguing with this person about you must be mistaken.
Sure.
Because I
Yeah.
didn't want to believe it at
Yeah.
all.
Sure. Of course.
And so I'm glad that she sent the photo, because it really, I couldn't deny it. So then I had to take some kind of action. However, I didn't know what to do about it other than I was angry. I was destroyed inside. I couldn't, heartbroken
Sure.
that my child would make these choices. And then, I just was going to go home and tell her, like, you can't do this, and that's kind of the conversation we had was, you can't use drugs. What do you want? What do you need? Why are you doing this? She didn't give a lot of answers. She didn't have a lot to say at all. And except she wanted a dog. She said she was sad and she'd like to talk to someone. Fine, I'll get you a counselor. And so we did those things, but what I didn't know at the time either was that counselors have different either past experiences and different educational experience, and not all counselors know anything about addiction.
Sure.
So I didn't know to seek out an addictions counselor. So I just sent her to one that I, knew of. And this one didn't have any experience in addiction. So my daughter figured that out very quickly, and she did go a few times, but most of the time she went high intentionally because the
Wow.
lady didn't know.
Yeah, but was not able to help her in the way that she needed. Okay, so let's take a little bit of a step back. Um,
Sure.
Looking back on it now, your
Mhm.
perspective of your daughter, um, I, I pray that my sons are able to avoid that conversation with me. I pray for my boys every day, and that's one of the prayers that I have for them, because addiction is so consuming, so controlling. When you look back for your daughter specifically, is there any kind of insight that you can give parents that are listening to this? Um, Signs that you noticed, things that we should be looking for, things that we should be aware of, any kind of advice that you could go back to younger self, yourself, and give yourself some advice? What might that be?
Yes, I would have been much more well-versed in mental health because my daughter had been through many things up to that point in her life. Some I knew about and some I didn't know about, but even the things I knew about, I knew she was in pain.
Okay,
I knew that there there were plenty of reasons there that I could and should have probably sought help for her to be able to cope with in a more healthy way because she was a teenager at the time.
sure,
And we were all struggling with a lot of family dysfunction, and she outwardly showed signs of pain. I did not know the depth of it. I think, I'm a very positive person, so part of me doesn't want to like really see the pain, especially in my
sure,
own child. But I think that if I could go back, I would have gotten her help during that time, somebody that was qualified, and I would have probably educated myself better to try to avoid that. But I did see signs, and I would encourage parents to trust your intuition when something
okay,
seems off. Like, go with that, explore that with your child, because I think I know that I felt that at many times, and I just argued with myself and argued it away, and then I didn't explore it. So I probably could have figured it out sooner had I paid attention.
yeah,
I don't want to, though.
sure.
Denial is my friend
It,
sometimes.
it definitely can be, and as a
Yeah.
parent, I'm a parent that has rose-colored glasses, right? I just
Yes.
see the world that way, and
Me too.
I'm an eternal optimist,
Yep.
and so I appreciate that perspective a lot. Okay, so you send her to a counselor that's not really equipped to handle the needs that she has.
Right.
When do you get her in with a specific addiction related counselor? Is that post getting clean? Is that during her process of getting clean? What was that kind of process like?
Yeah, so me being pretty clueless about I didn't know anything about drugs back then. And I thought when she said, she'd gone to 3, 4 counseling sessions, and she came to me and said she didn't need to go anymore. She felt like she was fine. I believed her. I really did. I thought because things had seemed like she was better. I didn't have as many nagging sort of questions in my head there for a while. And so
Okay.
I think what she got good at was hiding it better.
Yeah.
She'd been caught, so now she's going to be more careful. And I believe that she was. So I believed at the time when she said, I don't think I need to go anymore, that she was doing better. And I let it go. But it very quickly became evident that we were going in the wrong direction within really a couple of months. And I was still a little bit in denial, thinking this was gonna pass, something was gonna break. And it didn't. So when we when we got help, it was still several months later, but what I did was I caught her using the second time. So the
Okay.
first time I was clued in was July 4th. This was right after Christmas that same year. So within
Okay.
6 months, I caught her in a major lie, and she totally owned what she'd done. She totally owned that she wouldn't pass a drug test. And she also said to me she wasn't going to stop using drugs.
Wow.
And at that point, I did probably one of the hardest things, or maybe the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, is I'm divorced from her dad. He had lived out of state since she was 8 years old. Um, there was a lot that happened in our relationship. He was he used the children to get to me. So there was a lot of that
Okay.
sort of trauma that she had been dealing with. But what I ended up doing was sending her to live with her dad. And this was the middle of her senior year of high school.
Wow.
So I I kicked her out basically, and she went to Arizona to live with her dad, who had not been present much in her life since she was 8. So she thought that this was going to be the best thing ever because her dad really had never been a dad, and she was going to go there, finish school, maybe be roommates with him, and do whatever she wanted to do because he didn't care about her.
Sure.
But that's what she thought. That was her mindset. My mindset was, I just lost my daughter for good because this man hates me. He's tried to turn my children against me for all these years. He succeeded with my son, which is her older brother, and now here I'm giving him our daughter, and I'm distraught. But I don't know what else to do because she cannot use drugs in my home and she cannot lie to me. I do not, that's not okay. So this is what I did. And I'm thankful I did it, even though it was extremely painful because I think it sped up her crisis. Her crisis point came within 3 months of her being with her dad.
Okay.
And it broke him down, which which was good because he thought he would fix her because I messed her up. So this was kind of what he was thinking. And what happened was she got worse. They had a physical altercation. She was trying to run away. There was a lot going on. Cops were called. It was very much a crisis situation. And
Sure.
from that point, she wanted to come home. I said, no, not when you're doing what you're doing. I won't have it. But he wouldn't have her be there either because they were not getting along. She wouldn't have anything to do with him, and she was threatening, like as soon as she could, she was running away.
Sure.
And nobody would ever find her, and she didn't plan on seeing her 18th birthday alive. So like this was like, okay, we clearly can't handle this. I don't know what to do with her. So I got on Google and was trying to find places, that could help her and help us. And I do think God took the wheel there because I didn't know anything about anything still. And Google gives you all kinds of stuff. And I was able to find a program in Arizona, which was still 2.5 hours from where she was living, but they focused and specialized in teens and adolescents,
Okay.
drug. So, and they happened to be really the only treatment center that would call me back and have a conversation with me. So I really didn't have any other options. And I trusted them when they said, if you can just bring her here, we'll keep her, not forcing her to be there, but they were really good at convincing, kids, teens that this was the program for them.
Sure.
So that's what we did. We took her, she went into residential therapy or residential treatment for 6 weeks there. And then she did 8 weeks of intensive outpatient. But her counselor in inpatient we credit her really for saving my daughter's life. Um, she was very hard. She was really hard, and she really broke my daughter down. At that point, my daughter was angry at everyone. It was everyone else's fault.
Sure.
She didn't understand why anybody cared what she did, and she didn't take responsibility for anything. And this counselor, it took a while, but got her to a point of broken down where she could heal. And that's really where we found the real help. And she was integral in my daughter finally deciding that maybe she wanted a different life for herself.
Wow. Yeah, it's amazing to see addiction when you're caught in the midst of it.
Mhm.
You believe the lie that it's
Mhm.
only affecting you. And
Yes.
why do these other people care that I'm doing this? Because it's only affecting me.
Yep.
And you're so caught up in that lie that you get angry and you get mad and you're like mad at the world. Okay, so
Yep.
you get her help, and now she's several years clean. So what is that encouragement? Like, share some encouragement on the other side of her treatment. What does that look like with her?
Yeah, well, I didn't know at the time either what treatment was going to look like. And her treatment program was 2 to 2.5 years long.
Okay.
She didn't stay that long, but I am grateful for the 10 months that she was there because she did the 6 weeks in inpatient, she did 8 weeks in outpatient, and that's an everyday, all day thing. It was very intensive. And then they did fun, sober, fun events on Fridays and Saturday nights, plus 12-step meetings. I mean, it was an all-encompassing treatment center and treatment plan. And then she did 6 months of aftercare there as well.
Wow.
And through that process, though, they worked with us parents. And every week there was a parent meeting that I even attended long distance through the phone. I had another mom that offered to let me call her phone, and she had me on speakerphone in the meetings every Thursday night. And then eventually they got a video board, so I got to see people. And when I would go visit my daughter, I would be there in person for a few. So, but those meetings changed my life in every way. I mean, at that point when she went into treatment, I was reading books and I was trying to educate myself and figure this stuff out. I'd never been involved in any sort of 12-step program or recovery program, but what my motivation was to help my daughter, but it was also to understand her.
Sure.
That became really important to me, was to be able to not only, know, but I want to be able to like connect with her and communicate with her and start to rebuild this relationship that was completely broken through this experience. And so I ended up getting a sponsor and I worked through the 12 steps myself. And I started having conversations with her about what we were learning in recovery. And then we started talking about the things that we had been experiencing in her past and mine that we didn't understand about each other. And the vulnerability that we were able to share in those moments of just trying to connect and figure things out, is priceless. And I don't believe that I could have gotten there without the 12-step program, but also without all the parent support and the parent groups. And just, I mean, recovery can envelope you,
Yeah.
really, if you let
Can be
it.
very
And
isolating.
it can be, it
Yeah.
can be. And so when you dive in and you really participate in the support that's out there, because there's so many people just like us that have experienced it, that are walking through it, that need, hope and advice, guidance, experience, something to grab onto. That's the most, I think, insightful thing that I can give people in this situation is to please go to the groups, go to Al-Anon, go to Celebrate Recovery, find your people. They're out there.
Yeah.
They're out there and they're so willing to take your hand and walk you through right along with them. And it's the only way that I was able to rebuild a relationship with my daughter. And then she's 6.5 years sober now. She just turned 25.
It's amazing.
So I know it
Thank
is.
you,
And
Jesus.
I know. And we work together now. She came 3 years ago and asked to join my mental health practice.
Wow. That's
And
amazing.
that's a miracle because I didn't see it coming even then. But so now I get to work with her and we both help other people who are walking through this journey and other things. And it's fun to watch her, take all the gifts that she's been given and give them back to
Yeah.
other people who are struggling.
I love, there's so many things in that. I appreciate you sharing. I appreciate your vulnerability, right? That there's something so powerful in community. As a man of faith, I believe we're designed to do life in community, but we're not
Yes.
designed to do life alone. And this idea that there's something so sweet when you share your soul and somebody sitting across the table says, "Oh, me too." and
Hmm.
and, then to realize this kind of veil is removed from your eyes of like, I'm not the only one struggling with this. I'm not
No.
the only one wrestling with this. I'm not the only one that's had these thoughts, that has done these things, that's messed up in this way. And I feel so isolated. But now, because the programs or my church group or my community group, I'm able to find other people that I can now do life with, walk with, rely on, that can help bear the burden that is my life now, and that I am living in recovery. So
Yeah.
you are in this practice. You're working with your daughter, which is just
Mhm.
absolutely amazing. Now you write this book.
Yeah.
But tell us about the book. Obviously, we're going to put in the show notes of how people can get it. But what was your desire to write the book? Give us kind of an overview of where the book is as a helpful resource tool.
Sure. When I was in the midst of, I would say, the darkness, the parts where I didn't know where to turn or what to do, I read books. I wanted knowledge. I needed to know everything.
Sure.
But I struggled with the books that I was reading. A lot of them were great, but you typically got a book that was written by somebody that's struggling with addiction and probably in recovery, and they wrote the book from their experience, which is great. But for me as a parent, I was always thinking, okay, well, where was the mom?
Yeah.
Where were your parents? What was going on in the home? And then I would also read books written by the parent. And, at the same time, I would think, okay, well, what was the child thinking? How was this? I needed the whole picture, really, and I
Yeah.
couldn't find it. And so my idea was once we got through and my daughter was sober, and we decided to kind of go public with what our experience had been. Um, we decided kind of separately, independently, that we wanted to take our story and we wanted to put it into a book that was both told from my perspective and my experience and hers, and put that
Wow.
together in a book. And I had the idea, she had the idea, and she came to me, and it was just sort of, I think that meant that we needed to do it. But this would have been probably 5 or 6 years ago that we had this idea, and I did start writing. But I tabled it because I didn't know how to publish it or what would actually, I was going to get it out there to the
Sure. Yeah.
world.
Sure.
So I just kind of set it to the side, and then I found a publisher last year and finished the book and had it published. So this is a unique book because you do get both perspectives in every single chapter. And it gives you, sort of the things that maybe we saw the same, and a lot of the things that we saw completely differently. And I learned a lot by writing this book because I interviewed her for every chapter, and there
Mm.
were still things that I learned from her, and I transcribed every one of those interviews. So it is truly her words in every chapter. And I think that's what makes this book different and powerful, because you do get a more complete picture of how addiction affects the family as a unit, and then
Sure.
how we walk through it and what we did to get to the other side, and offer the hope that we can offer.
Wow. I love that. What a gift that is of the redemption that is offered when we share our story, and when we find the ability to encourage one another in that. And I so appreciate that you writing that. I look forward to reading it myself.
Yeah.
So when you look at yourself as a parent, when you look at other parents that are navigating difficult seasons with their kids, addiction, or just different difficult seasons. Let's leave it there.
Plenty.
What advice would you give directly to those parents? Advice that you wish you would have had. Can you give us a couple of pieces there?
Yeah, I mean, I think I said it earlier. I think we have so many resources out in the world now that even 10 years ago I didn't know about. I think it's really important as a parent to educate yourself on what is available, what kind of counselors are out there. Maybe you have one that you kind of have in your back pocket in case you feel like your child needs to talk to someone, because an unbiased third party is a really valuable resource for kids,
Yeah,
somebody that can talk to about things that they don't feel like they can maybe talk to their parents about. There's all kinds of other kinds of support groups and things for kids too. Those are a little bit harder to find, but I do think you can really benefit sometimes from going ahead and getting your child a counselor and somebody to talk to you. It won't hurt. It can really help, and it can help open up the dialogue between you and your child too, because you can both go into a session and you can communicate with a third party there too. So everybody feels safe enough to say what they need to say, and the reactions can be tempered a little bit with another person in the room. But
sure.
I think because communication gets really difficult with teens if they're experiencing something really heavy, they don't know how to tell someone. And if it can't be you right away, let's get them somebody that they can tell.
Yeah, I love that. That's incredible piece of advice. Okay, let's kind of, as we wrap up our conversation here, let's go back to you talked about you going through recovery through the 12-step program. I admire that tremendously because it gave you a common language that you could speak to your daughter through.
Yes.
What is something that you learned about yourself, if you don't mind sharing, in
Mhm.
that experience that maybe surprised you a little bit?
It changed everything about me, I feel like. And it's hard to touch on one thing because my life did a complete 180 after this experience with her, and being in recovery, having to take a good hard look at myself, being humbled as a parent who has now gone through something so traumatic with my child, thinking she could die, thinking that did I do something that caused this? We all
Sure,
think we caused it. We haven't, but we all think we have. And just learning about life and people's struggles, and to validate those things, and that you know it's okay to treat your child one. I mean, my child was like 17, 18 at this time, but I ended up starting to treat her like an adult at that point. Like we were more on the same level. She
okay,
no longer needed me to be mom protecting her. She needed me to be mom, listen to me,
yeah,
hear me, and be vulnerable with me. Like, I
yeah,
need you to understand me. And that's really how we rebuilt our relationship. But in that, I became a healer myself. I switched professions. I have started my own holistic mental health practice. I started with getting my chemical dependency counseling license.
wow,
I do microcurrent neurofeedback. I went back and got my master's degree. I'm a licensed professional counselor now. I just finished my doctorate in functional medicine.
congratulations, wow,
Thank you. So, like, I have found what really brings me joy and happiness, and it is giving back to other people and trying to help somebody else enjoy their life and live the life that they're meant to live. And I just can't imagine doing anything else. So, had I not gone through that, though, I don't know how I would have gotten here.
sure, yeah. No, that's an unbelievable perspective, and I appreciate you sharing that. I want to really hone in on one piece of
Mhm.
advice that you shared there, that every parent feels like it's their fault, but it's not. Can you speak to that more? I know in my extended family, in my friend group, the parents that I've gotten to know that their family has gone through recovery, all of them wear that as a scar on their heart that it's their fault. Can you speak a little bit more to that?
Of course. Yeah, I mean, we think it's our fault because we're responsible for our children. And sometimes as parents, we take responsibility for everything our children do when really there's very little that we have control over. Our children are separate people. They get
Yeah,
to make their own choices and decisions. And sometimes they go through things as kids and they just don't have the tools to cope. with whatever pain that they're feeling. And in my experience, most people who struggle with addiction are very deep feelers. They
Okay.
just, everything is bigger to them than it might be to a normal person or
Okay.
somebody else. So when those feelings are too big and they find something that helps temper that, like drugs will numb that
Sure.
pain, it becomes we think the drugs are the problem, but it's the pain that's the problem, and they
Yeah.
just don't know how to cope with it. So it isn't because as a parent we did something or didn't do something, or like, we don't have that kind of power over someone. We don't. And I imagine most of the parents listening here have had the drug conversation with their kids. I did. I made mine watch that show Intervention back in the
Okay.
day.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That was totally not that did not glorify drugs. And I thought, so they knew, and they wouldn't do it. Clearly, that's what I thought. So, and my daughter never thought she would become a drug addict. She just knew the first time she tried marijuana, that was the first drug she tried, that all the pain she felt inside went away.
Yeah.
And that was why she decided to use drugs. It wasn't because I did or didn't do something. It was because she had so much pain. She needed to numb it. And that was the only thing she had found to that point at 16 years old that took it away.
Mm.
So it wasn't my fault. Do I feel responsible in some ways? Yeah, she's still my daughter, but I don't
Sure.
have guilt over that, and I don't beat myself up over it. I
Mm.
really did, as I think all of us parents do. We have our children's best interests at heart, no matter
Sure.
what decisions we make. We love our children and we want the best for them. So we do our best, and we don't have a manual. There's nothing that tells us exactly what to do and when and how to do it right. Everyone is different. I mean, you can have 3, 4 children in a house and they're all different personalities. They don't respond the same way to the same things.
Yep.
And so we do the best we can. And I think as parents, we have to rest in that we didn't cause it. We can't control people, but we can certainly be a part of the recovery process, and we can help them make the changes that they need to make and
I
help them
love
get
that.
they need.
Yeah. I appreciate that encouragement. Right. And I hope that the parents that are listening to this, myself included, that we will see our kids as unique individuals and that we're helping to guide them and helping to support them. And when we get them to a stage where we feel like they need additional support, the challenge to all the parents that are listening is go get them that additional support.
Yes,
And
hesitate.
yeah, and I appreciate that a lot. Okay, so Janelle, Dr. Martin, what is, if somebody wants to get your book, where do they find it? Remind us the name of it.
Yeah.
If you can put it on camera, I know for
I'll
those
hold it up.
that are watching, yeah.
Yep, it's called Losing Her, Finding Us, A Mother's Fight, A Daughter's Journey, and the Road to Recovery. It's available on Amazon, Goodreads, Barnes and Noble online. Some local libraries have it already.
Fantastic.
But I'd love it if you bought it on Amazon and left me a review.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear feedback.
Okay, and I'll make sure that's in the show notes. And Dr. Martin, if somebody wants to get connected to you, please don't give out your cell phone number. But if they want to know more about your coaching, your counseling, if they want some advice from you, if they need to contract with you, how do they get in touch with you?
You can DM me on social media. There's contact buttons on both of my websites. So please reach out. You can find my contact information on both websites. I really am an open book.
That's fantastic. Well,
Yeah.
Janelle, I appreciate your time. I appreciate your transparency and your willingness to share and your own road to recovery, your daughter's road to recovery, and the way that you are giving back and supporting others. Thank you for the work that you're doing. Everybody, make sure to pick up her book. The link's in the show notes. Thank you for pulling up a seat at the family table. We'll see you soon. Thank you for pulling up a chair at the family table. We hope today's conversation has strengthened the bonds that hold us together. Don't forget to follow the show to keep these heartwarming stories coming your way. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe and share it with friends and family. And if there's someone whose family story you think would be a perfect fit for the show, drop their name in the comments. We would love to hear from you and bring more families to the table. Until next time, cherish those moments with your loved ones.